At the time my son was 3 years old, I had started feeling that something was off. He couldn't move his bowels. He was experiencing extreme pain, wouldn't go to the bathroom, and was screaming and punching walls, and he was 3. So I had taken him to many different ERs, about 5 in 1 week. The final ER had a surgical team check him out. His bowels were so compacted that it was just full, and he wouldn't allow himself to move the bowels. Easter morning on April 12th, 2020, my son told me for the first time, "Daddy touches my penis in a bad way." When I asked my husband, his father, about it, he got enraged, which was a thing because domestic violence was an issue as well. So I immediately took my son and left that day. We haven't seen him since. My husband was sexually abusing him pretty severely when I wasn't around, making him watch porn. It went further that the neighbors were involved. My husband was involved sexually with one of the people, and they were making my son take part in the sexual encounters they had next door. I started working overnights at a drug rehab, 3 overnights a week. And the neighbors, they were all well aware of my schedule. And it was around that time that I believe that my husband started taking my son to different locations, started selling him as a commodity, basically. There were parties at different people's houses. One of the houses, my son said, is the house where they killed Megan, but they don't know who Megan is. He doesn't know who Megan is. At these parties, there were other boys, other parents that my son said, mommies and daddies, that weren't nice to their kids either. There's a community near us, and they were giving my husband cash, wads of cash, and at which point they would take my son into rooms, lock the door, and they had put a dog squeaky toy in his mouth, made him sit in a chair in the middle of the room while they all took turns abusing him and making fun of him, and then sexually hurting him. He was made to sleep on the floor in these rooms, naked, woken up by flashlights and screaming when he had to perform again. Other little boys, he was made to fight for food while the adults laughed. My son also told me his father was involved in a couple of stabbings, one which resulted in a murder. One was on a boat where his father and 3 other men killed another man with a machete. My son was present. They decapitated him, gouged his eyes out, and threw him overboard. The police were his friends. I think at one point my son said to his dad he was going to tell the police, and his dad laughed at him and said, "The police are working with me." My husband was trying to convince him that I wasn't his real mother, that he had another mother for him. He said Daddy was telling him he was going to hurt me and hurt him if he ever told me anything. And he also told him that I was okay with it, that I knew. I left with my son for Miami. When I got to Miami, I contacted human trafficking at the state prosecutor's office, who within hours had contacted No More Tears. And No More Tears had us in a hotel for 2 weeks. They had given me gas money to get to the hotel, because at that point I was out of money. I'd driven for 2 days and paid a hotel night stay. No money, we had slept in our car. The next morning, No More Tears had set us up in a hotel immediately with food and money and gas. They didn't just put us up for a night or 2, they put us up for 2 weeks, which was the quarantine period, so no one else would even have taken us. And immediately I had relief, just standing in a weird place, with my son, who was scared too. It was just perfectly executed right when we needed it. In this environment, in this society, we're so focused on getting the money. I figured I was doing the income and the house and all this stuff for my child, but I wasn't tuning into him. He didn't trust me. He just saw me as like a person moving about the world, but I didn't have that connection until I actively started working on it. And at that point was when he trusted me. Thank you so much for supporting No More Tears, because without that, I wouldn't be here right now. These organizations, they have their eyes wide open, and they know that people need the help. These children they need the help. Thank you for your support. Thank you.